And I don't recommend this for everybody. It's just what worked for me.
Look, I don't do public shaming.
We were just this lovely, plump family.
You have to live life right now.
Hi, and welcome to Living Large in America. Today, my guest is Rich Thomas, a beta program manager and amateur blogger from the Silicon Valley. Hey, Rich.
Hey.
You and I have known each other for quite a long time. You were the one that actually kind of convinced me to get bariatric surgery after I saw the journey that you went through. So, the first question I have for you is, what was your top weight before surgery?
This is a kind of tricky question because I'll go into the whole story with you.
Okay.
I once stepped on a scale in 2002 at 475, and that was the highest weight I've ever recorded of myself. But at that time, I wasn't stepping on scales a lot, so that but that was a long time. So most of the time when people ask this question, I think they're asking right before surgery. Before I started on the road to surgery, I was 445, 450. So that was my top weight around.
It's funny because I feel like when I went for my first consult, of course they weigh you. I weighed 243 and change. I forget how much. And then 2 weeks after that, I had my pre-surgery consult. Now they're going to, record my official weight before surgery. And in that 2 weeks, it had gone up more than 1.5 pounds. So I feel like weight is a really tricky thing. And frankly, even though on my weight tracker, because now as a bariatric patient, I have an app on my phone that helps me keep track of all the stuff I need to keep track of, it's counting down from the lower weight. And I continually do the mental math to add the other 1.5 pounds because I lost that too, goddammit. I want credit for it. So, I think you should go from 475 because you lost that weight too. You should get credit for it. So where are you now?
I'm at 199. I have a range between 195 and 199.
Okay.
And my lowest weight after surgery was 175. And I realized recently that when I was at 175, I was hurting myself a lot. I was pulling muscles. I was getting injured. I think that I've hit that weight where I can maintain and I'm feeling healthy. And this is one of these things where I don't think people in the bariatric community always think about this aspect of it. A lot of people get obsessed about the low numbers, but don't always think about, okay, how's my body feel at that number?
Right.
What is that actually happening to me? That's the range I'm currently in.
I agree with you. And in fact, I was in the support group the other day. And, we were talking about what the stress of sheltering in place is doing to people and how many people are stress eating because of it. And I realized I am one of them. I have slipped back into eating more carbs than I should and realizing that by itself is really making me feel unhealthy, making me feel bloated and tired and, otherwise like crap. And the thing that the bariatric surgery in general has given me, and I'm curious whether it's given this to you too, is just a better ability to listen to my body and understand what it's telling me, because I didn't have that before.
Yeah, I think so. I think that there's a lot of ability to go. I'm trying to think of a lot of things. I want to step back before I answer this question.
Okay.
I think that there's a level of the bariatric surgery that has given me the kind of headway to both be intensely focused on my body, be very kind of conscious, but also the kind of grace to kind of let's reset tomorrow. There's never a hole. There's never I've done something really bad, I'm not going to recover from it. There's always a recovery. So there's kind of I can give myself a grace, a leeway of, if I make a mistake, it's a mistake. I just have to pick myself up and dust myself off, if that makes sense.
It does. And this is a thing that I have been really sensitive to because I have tried to convince the thin people around me for years that when you get to a certain weight, you can diet forever and nothing will happen because your metabolism is so damaged. And so when I first went to the doctor and he said, this surgery will actually change your metabolism, I was dubious. I was dubious because that seemed impossible. Like, I didn't understand the mechanism by which that happened. But, I can attest after 2 weeks of just like eating shockingly badly, I had, instead of losing, I am still in that honeymoon period, but instead of losing, my weight had gone up by like half a pound. I freaked out, realized that, a lot of the physical crap that I felt was just from bad eating. And it used to be that I would start eating well and I would double down on exercise and drink gallons of water. And then in 3 weeks, maybe I would have lost half a pound, but it was equally likely that I would have gained weight anyway. And now I weigh in on Mondays. And, so it was this past Monday that I went, oh, shit, I've gained half a pound. And so, okay, get back, double down on weighing and measuring my food and, drinking a lot of water and making sure I'm getting enough protein. And we're recording on a Wednesday. And in the 2 days that I have been doing that, I've lost 1.5 pounds. This was not possible before. And it is the thing that gives me hope that, it's okay. I can recover from this. It's all right. Because we've had that gift of a normal metabolism restored to us.
Yeah. No, that's a lot of it. Yeah. I don't know. I would get depressed and I would use food as a kind of way to get out of that depression. And then I'd be depressed about the eating. And then I would go, okay, I'm just going to eat everything. But now I have that ability to go, no, I just had a bad day, or this is just bad. Let me go a different direction. It seems like a healthier approach to that kind of, instead of the downward slope being days and days and days, it could be a short period and then you can recover. I think that's a healthy approach to life because we all have these ups and downs.
Sure. Describe the decision-making process that you went through in the lead up to surgery, because I was lucky. I had the inspiration of watching you via, your Instagram feed and your Facebook feed and your blog, going through the weight loss process. When it's somebody whose life is as thoroughly documented as yours, because man, you love a good post. And you take so many pictures, which is great. It was really amazing to see you just melting away. And I thought, I wish I could do that, which for me became, well, why can't I do that? And that's when I went to you to talk to you about, who your surgeon was and what happened to you. So what was your process like?
It was one of these things where a few years earlier, I'd gone to my doctor and talked to him. So I love my GP. He's a great guy. I've known doctors who will blame everything that you come to them on you being overweight.
Yeah.
That will make that as a major thing. And his message to me was, I have a lot of older patients, and you're not going to be one of those older patients.
Yikes.
But you just do it very subtly. He would say, just go to a retirement community and see how many people you're safe for at a retirement community. He would give me a little encouragement, but he would never not treat me, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Like he was straightforward. He has great bedside manner, but it was one of these things where he kept on saying, like, yeah, you've got to take care of this sometime, but let's deal with the matter at hand. That was the thing that I dealt with for him for years. It was probably 2012, 2013. I went to see Dr. Zyrene for the first time, and he talked to me, and it scared the bejesus out of me. The idea of the surgery just really was a scary idea.
What was scary about it?
I don't know if there was a kind of commitment to change your life, because it's just a tool to help you change your life. So there was a commitment to, okay, I'm going to undertake this change. And something about that scared me. When I talked to my GP later about it, when I did it the second time, I told my doctor that. He said, you'd rather see someone be scared than not take it seriously. being scared made it so I could say, oh yeah, this is serious. This is something I really have to take a serious point of view.
And, I think it's that same sort of concern that made me, get in touch with you and say, hey, I want to talk seriously about the surgery because I had so many questions.
Between that time and when I had the surgery, I did the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life, become a foster parent. Having gone through that changed my perspective. It was one of these things where like, oh, I can do this. So that was a lot of the decision making.
And now your son is, he is a climbing monkey. Now you can keep up with him.
He's getting to the point where I'm barely keeping up with him, but I'm doing a lot better than I would have before. He is very physical, and I feel this is one of the great benefits. I can do things with him that I would not have been able to do at 445 pounds.
What did the run-up to surgery look like for you? Did you go through insurance? What were the requirements? What hoops did you have to jump through before you got surgery?
The insurance was actually really easy. I had all the sign-offs were really easy. I believe my comorbidities. I had high blood pressure at the time, and having a BMI that was north of 60. They're like, sure, whatever you say. We want you to get that BMI down. For a normal person, BMIs can be tricky, but for once you get over a certain point, you're like, that is really not a good number to look at. So I, having such a high BMI there, said, yeah, just do it. My general practitioner signed off on it, and I had a psychological evaluation, and the dietitian signed off on it. So that was all pretty easy.
That's really easy. I know there are a lot of other people who talked about they have to spend a certain period of time, following like a regular diet and be unsuccessful to prove that they need the surgery. And, for other people that I have heard in the support group, it has been a much, much harder case to make that they need the surgery.
I don't know if it was because my weight was so high. In June, I had the first appointment with Dr. Zare, and we got it all wrapped up. The surgery was at the end of September. What I do remember about getting ready was Dr. Zare told me that if I didn't get to a certain weight before the surgery, I would have to be on the liquid diet for a whole month. And I didn't want to be on the liquid diet for a whole month. Between the 445 weigh-in and the surgery, I dropped to 406 pounds with my surgery weight. I just knew that I didn't want to have to do that.
I also had to do the liquid diet. I think everybody has to do the liquid diet for at least 10 days, like the 10 days right before surgery.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. Like that liquid diet, when you very first taste the stuff that they want you to drink, you're like, oh, this isn't bad. And by about day 3, you'd give anything for a liquid pizza. By the time I could eat even baby food again, I was just so grateful not to have to drink that crap anymore. You told me when I went in and grilled you, you were so gracious about answering my incredibly invasive questions. But what has been, other than your weight, what has been the biggest change in your life as you've lost the weight?
When I've gone to Taiwan for business, those trips have been awesome. That being able to sit in the middle seat and nobody looks at you funny, and you don't get that airplane look of the, please don't sit next to me look. Or when you're sitting next to someone, you can actually put your arms in, like let them have the arm rests, that being physically able. Those things are great. And airflight, but I can't really just go, I'm going to fly everywhere. Like, you can't, let's just fly everywhere all the time. That's just going to break the budget. Getting a season pass to Great America and riding roller coasters and taking trips to amusement parks on vacation is something that I can do. I have a son who actually really likes going on thrill rides. If he likes roller coasters. And he keeps on wanting to go on the ones that he's not tall enough for yet.
Aww.
He sees a roller coaster and does not see something scary. He sees, I want to do that. The spinny ride, I tell him I have one per trip.
So this is great. It sounds like you're really rediscovering a lot of the things that you maybe missed out on because of your weight for a lot of years. So when did you start gaining weight? Like, at what point did you pass everybody else?
probably 22. Yeah, I always was big, even as a child. Like, I was always on the bigger side. And through high school, in high school, I wrestled at 191 weight class.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always a bigger. And then I got the first big weight gain was the summer before I went away to college, because that was just a nonstop party of debauchery. And I went from like about 200 pounds to about 250 pounds.
Wow.
So
in one
by
summer.
the time I was, that is probably from the time I left high school to the end of the year,
Okay.
I was probably 250 pounds. So that goes like that first half of the freshman year. And yeah, it was just like, all the time I had all the freedom in the world. And then you get to college, and then by bad habits of college, I'm probably north of 300 pounds when I get out of college. And then it just keeps on piling on.
So basically it was once you were no longer at home, you were just going crazy.
Yes. Once I was in charge of what I was doing with my life. Yes.
You know, I'll be honest, but I think that's a fear that a lot of parents have when their kids move out. Like, my kid is going to move out and they're not going to know how to properly take care of themselves, and something bad is going to happen. I don't think that people necessarily say, my kid's going to get, pack on a lot of weight. But, they're going to, not brush their teeth as often as they need to. They're going to not shower as often as they need to. My kid just doesn't know how to take care of themselves. And it's scary to hear from somebody who really did have a hard time, finding that balance in his own life after leaving home. That's scary.
It's one of these things where my father was overweight and a lot of my siblings are overweight. What happened really about packing on this weight wasn't that I stopped taking care of myself. The debauchery is part of it, but it was also, I went from being a high school athlete who was always finding ways to do things to work out. So, like, I played football and I wrestled, and those were things I really enjoyed in that setting. But outside of the setting of a team sport, those things were no longer really interesting to me. So I shifted my output without shifting my input. So that was part of the problem too.
Right.
But recreation becomes one of these things where if you're going to do recreation as an adult, it becomes hard. I actually have a big theory about this, and it really gets me upset all the time.
Okay.
When people talk about high school sports, those things should be about teaching people how to be active their whole life. It shouldn't be about furthering athletics into a profession. But such a small percentage of people do that. And they talk about this a lot when it comes to the growth of women's sports. And I understand the growth of professional women's sports is important, but that should be as an example of the kind of sports we encourage people to do in their day-to-day life. Really, if I was someone who was the czar of high school sports, it would be about sports as recreation, not sports as competition. And I think we get really too bound up in sports as competition.
I would agree. I feel like even in high school, and in fact probably from grade school, girls and boys sports are very different things and have very different focuses. Because although girls sports, there's certainly a competition element, there really wasn't any kind of pipeline to professional sports for girls from our high school. So that's a boy sports thing, which makes it even more unfortunate. You're right. Once you get to be an adult, you lose that childhood thing of being able to go over to a friend's house and say, "Hey, want to ride bikes?" That's not a thing that adults do anymore, and therefore, making that kind of casual interaction the basis of your exercise is out of reach for a lot of adults.
It's a different thing. That's one of those things like, oh yeah, recreational sports as an adult it's one of those things that everyone has to come to terms with themselves. Like, that's a hard thing to figure out. Oh, exactly how am I going to do this as an adult? How am I going to do a recreational sport?
Right.
And now I get a lot of that through riding a bike to work. When I set a goal weight, and I told Kate, if I hit this goal weight, I'm going to buy myself a Vespa. And she was very encouraging. Instead of buying a Vespa, I bought an expensive electric bicycle. I was too practical for my own good. Like, well, instead of doing this other thing, which is just pure fun and frivolity, there is part of me who always just worried that if I bought a Vespa, I'd end up being roadkill. Like, oh, this is I can get and I can exercise. One of the problems with the lock it down for me is I just can't find the time to get on my bicycle.
Yeah.
And that gets me down. So
Yeah.
finding time to exercise means a lot of I have to fit it into my routine. I fit it in by bicycling to work, which is nice.
Yeah.
This year, I set 3 levels of goal. I want to ride either 1,000 miles or 1,200 miles or 1,400 miles in the next year. Those are my 3 levels. Give myself a bronze, a silver, and a gold level goal.
Okay.
And just yesterday, I passed the bronze level goal of riding 1,000 miles on the bicycle since October.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was good.
So you will almost certainly make gold.
Yes, like I set a goal and a global pandemic happened.
Oh, man.
So I don't know if I should be setting goals.
Yeah, that's really tough because one of the things, I have been working from home now for 10 years. So lucky me, I have already really, baked the skill set down. But one of the things that was the hardest transition was, you're right, there's that buffer going to work and coming from work where you are getting your mind set for the thing you're doing next. So on the way to work, you are thinking about what you're going to do when you get to work, and you're thinking about your day ahead, and you're kind of getting the gears into work mode. And then the opposite on the way home, you're letting go of the day, you're thinking about what you're going to do at home, and you just have that time to make a mental shift. And I discovered for myself when I started working from home that without that time, and for me, I had an hour commute. So without that hour, to and from every day, I was floundering. I was unable to be as focused in my work as I had been. And that was kind of a bummer. So now, millions and millions of other people around the world are discovering how hard it is when, you're suddenly thrust out of your routine and you have to figure this shit out for yourself. Other than exercise, have you been like stress eating? You said you were snacking, but has keeping your weight to where you want it to be been difficult since sheltering in place?
So the funny thing is, when when shelter in place happened, I ended up losing a whole bunch of weight that first 2 weeks.
Wow.
Because it was so stressful, the opposite happened. Where it wasn't stress eating, it was just couldn't stomach to do anything.
Right.
That has gone away. So I've not been stress eating that much. Every once in a while, I think I'm getting an extra protein bar in me. Probably getting the same number of too many protein bars that I was at the job anyway, after having a real, the funny thing is the job's a little less stressful because everyone knows everyone's going through the same thing. But there are definitely times beforehand where it's have a stressful meeting. You try to make those substitutions for stress eating. You can.
Yeah.
But it is grazing at night is just the one thing I can't avoid with having a small child is having crackers around the house, having goldfish or Ritz crackers or those kind of things.
Yep.
That is my real management of, I'm going to have these things around the house because he needs that. I guess it's one of these things where him being younger, I kind of wonder what impact all of this, my body change and my change in my diet will have on him in the long run. And it's hard to say.
Well, he was so young when you had surgery. I wonder if he'll even have memories of his dad as a larger man.
The funny thing is, I think he does now, but it's also, will he later? I don't know. But he talks about back when I had a big tummy.
Right.
He has some sort of thinks about it at some level right now.
Yeah, I know when my younger daughter was about his age, I was on yet another diet, and I had said that I wanted to lose weight, and she said, "No, Mommy, I want you to be plumpy, because I like to hug you like this." And I reminded her of that. You know, she's 20 now. I reminded her of that. And she's like, well, you know, you were really nice and soft and cuddly, but, you know, I can understand that you want to be healthier. Like, oh, thank you. Okay, I feel better now. I feel like I'm not depriving you of something.
There's one thing I want to bring up.
Yes.
I don't know how many people who listen to your show, not because they're going through it, but they're supporting someone who's going through it or connected to someone. There was a time where people would say, oh, you look so good. And at a certain point when I'm going through this, I hated people telling me I was looking better. I hated people giving me that compliment because I wanted to say to them, what, you think I looked like crap before? And so if anyone's out there listening to this and they're supporting someone going through it, dole out your compliments in a more thoughtful way, because it's really a lot on them at times. So when you think you're being encouraging, you could be rubbing their nose in dog crap. That is one of those things that got me a lot, because you notice when people start looking at you different. I was kind of oblivious, and Kate would always say, did you notice her flirting with you? And I'm like, what? It can be hard when you realize people are treating you different because you've lost weight.
Right.
And it could be one of these things that kind of is a blow to your ego. So if anyone's listening to this because they're supporting someone who's going through it, keep that in mind. Sometimes they need a little more compassion than compliment. So, and I think right now we could all give everyone a little more compassion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. My own mother tends to do that all the time. Oh, you're looking really good. And my reply to her is always, I looked good before. It was my mother-in-law who said, the other day we were walking around outside, and she was saying, you look like you're moving a lot more comfortably now. I was just so touched, because that was a compliment that didn't say you look like shit before. You know, it wasn't a judgment. It was an observation that I could not have made for myself. You know, I can tell you that It feels better to move around now. But, you know, that she had noticed, and that she was remarking that, you know, on something other than you look good, made me so happy.
Yes, exactly. I will co-sign that is one of those things that would have made me feel happy too.
Absolutely. Well, cool. Thank you so much, Rich. And this has been an excellent talk. And, you know, I will let you ease into your day on your whatever your tiny little mental commute is nowadays. And that's our show. I would like to thank my guest, Rich Thomas, and thank you, listeners. Living Large in America is written and produced by Lisa Quintana. Our music was composed by Cambo Smith. If you have a story about weight, body image, size discrimination, or fat phobia you'd like to tell, drop us a line, info@livinglargeinamerica.com. You can subscribe to this show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, and most other podcast apps. If you like the show, could you please give us a rating on Apple Podcasts? It really, really helps. And if you don't like the show, can you lie and say you did and give us a rating? I'd do it for you. Thank you for listening. We'll talk again in 2 short weeks. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other.